Hello, welcome to the first year BHM course of Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata. I'm Dr. Indrajit Bose and I shall be your course coordinator for this session. This paper is entitled Business Communication with a paper code of BHM N102. In the course of this paper, in the lectures covered, we are looking at various forms and modes of interaction in spoken and written English, which shall be useful for you in the future when you are joining the industry, by which I mean the healthcare and hospital sector. Now, you know that when you join the industry, then you shall be in some sort of administrative or managerial position, and you shall have to interact almost on a daily basis with different people like administrators, doctors, and nurses and other health professionals, patients and their relatives, accountants, administrators, and members of the public, the media, the press, all these people. So you will have to interact with them via oral or spoken communication, direct or in person, or on the phone, or you may have to use different kinds of electronic media like email, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, or other modes on channels. Now, among the written and spoken communication that you will engage in, obviously it has to be grammatically correct. So, in order to facilitate the accuracy and the grammatical correctness, certain rules of grammar will be shared with you in this course. Now, this lecture that we have is based on a fundamental aspect of grammar, subject-verb agreement, or concord as it is called. It is lecture 13 in the series from the first module in your paper. Now, to begin with, I will ask you to think of a couple of examples. For example, let's say that it is Sunday and your mother is making a cake as a special treat. So what will you say? That mother has made a cake this Sunday, or mother have made a cake this Sunday? The verb is make or to make, so as the infinitive. So what form will the person take? Mother is the third person singular, so obviously it takes the third person has and not have. I have, you have, but he or she has. Again, let's say that there are a lot of children playing in the park just before the evening. So what will we say? The children is playing or the children are playing? Obviously it's a plural subject over here. So the verb will also take the plural form. The children are playing in the park. Now, these examples might seem to you to be very simple ones, but however simple they may be, there are, in fact, a lot of confusions regarding this agreement between the verb and the subject, or which verb accompanies which subject, or which form of verb rather accompanying which subject. Now, these confusions create for a lot of errors, inaccuracies, and problems in communication. Now, we would like to avoid these communication difficulties as far as is practicable, and for that we have to know certain norms or rules of subject-verb agreement. So, in the course of this lecture, we shall be looking at what are verbs and what are their subjects, and what is concord or subject-verb agreement, and the rules of concord. Then we shall also examine some concord errors with examples. Now, you all know that a verb indicates action of some kind. Ram is reading, Sita is playing, the children are swimming. So they are all engaged in some activity or some action. Now it might indicate what a person or thing does. Or in other words, when the person or thing is acting as initiator of the action. Like Ram is playing. So obviously Ram is the initiator of the action. And Sita is singing. So again, she is the initiator of the action over there. Or it can indicate some state or condition, like the baby sleeps, for example. Now the teacher teaches the students. That indicates the action that is being done. The teacher is teaching the students. The baby sleeps, however, just indicates a state or being. Now, according to whether verbs indicate an action which is passing over from the doer or subject to any object, verbs can be classified into two types, transitive and intransitive. Now, transitive verbs are those in which the action passes over from the doer or subject to an object. Whereas intransitive verbs are those in which the action does not pass over to an object, or in fact in one in which there are no objects. So please remember that intransitive verbs do not have any objects, and only if the action is indicated as passing over from the doer to the object, then only the verb will be regarded as a transitive one. Now, what are the different kinds of objects that the transitive verbs can have? Now, usually in transitive verbs, the object follows the verb. Like the receptionist will make the calls. The verb is make over here, and the calls are the object. Mother has baked a cake. Again, cake is the object over here of the verb baked, and mother is the subject. But some transitive verbs take two objects after them and not one. Now, one of them is called the direct object. This is usually a thing or inanimate object, and the other one is called an indirect object, and this is usually a person. Okay? Like Sheila bought the child an ice cream. So ice cream is the direct object and child is the indirect object of the verb bought. I gave him the card. The card is the direct object and him, or he rather, is the indirect object. And the third one, Pamela drove father to the airport. Airport is the direct object and father is the indirect object. So sometimes we might have verbs with two objects. So in that case, one of them will be the direct object, and the other one will be the indirect object. But of course, we cannot have verbs without objects if they are transitive verbs. So please remember that transitive verbs will necessarily have objects, but sometimes the objects may be more than one. So in that case, one of them will be direct and the other will be indirect. Now, What exactly is this verb-subject agreement or concord? To put it very simply, the verb has to agree with the subject, basically in person as well as in number. Now, concord basically means agreement or harmony. Now, here it means grammatical agreement. Like the boys play soccer or the boy plays soccer. So, for example, the boy plays soccer. The verb, what is the verb over here? The verb is plays. What is the subject? The subject is boy, and soccer is the object. So it's a transitive verb. Now, should we say the boy plays or the boy play? Now, it's a singular subject. So since it is a singular subject, it will take correspondingly a singular verb. The singular verb is plays. The plural form of the verb is play. So if we have a plural subject like boys, only then will we use a plural verb, a plural form of the verb like play. So the boy plays soccer, the boys play soccer. A singular verb takes a singular subject and plural verb takes a plural subject. Now, we shall look at more examples of this. Yes, the correspondence between singular subjects and persons. A singular subjects take a singular verb. If the subject is in the first person, the verb will also be in the first person. Some examples are, I drive to the station. I pulled away. We wrote the report. So it's in the first person for the subject over here. Then, if the verb is in the second person, if the subject is in the second person, it will correspondingly take a verb in the second person. Like, you come to the villa, or you bake the pastry. If the subject is in the third person, then it will take a verb in the third person. Like, he writes an email, or she sings a song, or they chant a prayer. So these are all in the third person. So if it's in the first person, it will take the first person form. If it's in the second person, it will take the second person form. If it's in the third person, it will take the third person form. So there is a correspondence between the subject and the verb in person and, of course, in number also. Now, if there are plural subjects, let us say, so far we have been considering singular subjects. So if there are plural subjects connected by and, so if there are two or more singular subjects connected by and, they usually take a verb in the plural. So singular subject plus singular subject connected by and usually takes a verb in the plural. Like oil and water do not agree. We do not say oil and water does not agree. Oil and water do not agree. So they take a verb in the plural. But remember, oil and water are two singular subjects. So they are connected by and, so they take a verb in the plural. John, Sylvia, and Ruth go to college. We will not say John, Sylvia, and Ruth goes to college. So they are a plural subject, so they will take a plural verb. So here, oil and water are singular, and John, Sylvia, and Ruth are also singular. They join by and, take a plural verb. Now, similarly, other examples, Ruth and Miriam take part in the choir. We will not say Ruth and Miriam takes part in the choir. We have to say they take part in the choir. Silk, crepe, and muslin are used in dressmaking. Not silk, crepe, and muslin is used in dressmaking. But if we use only one of them, if we have only a singular subject, then it will be is. Like silk is used in dressmaking or muslin is used in dressmaking. But as soon as we have two subjects, crepe and muslin, then we have to use plural. Crepe and muslin are used in dressmaking, or silk and muslin are used in dressmaking. The chef poured in salt, pepper, and mustard. Okay. So this is in the past tense, of course, but again, it will take a plural verb. So this is about plural subjects. Now, some rules relating to singular nouns referring to the same person or thing. Now, these are actually certain exceptions. Now, the thing to remember is that while there are certain rules, there are also a few exceptions which are also quite typical. So we have to remember them. Now, the first one of these is if there are two singular nouns referring to the same person or thing, then the noun must be singular. Now, for example, my guardian and benefactor has come. Now, guardian and benefactor is only one person. So we have been using the singular form of the verb. The guardian and benefactor has come. The politician and statesman is dead. So the person here referred to as politician and statesman, so it is only one person, not two people. However, if the two nouns refer to two different people, the verb will be plural, like the orator and the statesman are dead. So the orator and the statesman. So these are two different people altogether. So we have to use the plural form of the verb. We cannot use the singular verb in that case. Now, the article will, of course, be used before each noun in the case that we are using two different people, right? So we have to say the statesman and the benefactor. The statesman and the benefactor. So this means two different people, so they have come. Right. Now, certain rules regarding subjects. Suppose the subjects are pronouns. Now, singular indefinite pronoun subjects will take singular verbs like the following examples: each, either, nobody, neither, nothing, anything, something, somebody, someone, everyone, everybody, everything. Each does a good bit of work, for example, or everybody is silent, or everybody was silent on the issue, or nothing can be done on this, nothing has been done. Anything is possible. Okay, we don't say anything are possible, anything is possible. Something will be done, okay, or something has been done, not have been done. Okay. So singular indefinite pronoun subjects will take singular verbs. Now, what about plural indefinite pronoun subjects? Plural indefinite pronoun subjects will correspondingly take plural verbs like several, few, both, and many. Or here we have an example: both do a good deal of work. Some indefinite pronouns may be either singular or plural. So with uncountable, we use the singular form, and with plural and with countable, we use plural forms. Like sugar is costly, and the marbles are scattered. So one of them is uncountable. So we use the singular form, whereas the other one is countable, like marbles. So we use plural form. The marbles are scattered, whereas sugar, being uncountable, is singular. Sugar is costly. Okay. Yes. Now, some more issues. Now we have to consider now two or more singular subjects connected by or, nor, either or, neither nor. Now they will take a singular verb like neither he nor I was prepared, or either you or Rohit must be. Now when the subjects thus connected are of different numbers, the verb must be plural and the plural subject must be placed next to the verb, like this, for example. Philip or his friends have done this. So have done this, have done, that is placed next to the uh, plural subject. Okay, friends. Either the boy or his parents are mistaken. You cannot say they is mistaken. They are mistaken. So when the subjects are of different persons, the verb agrees with the person with the one nearest to it. Either you or I am mistaken. Okay, so we have the first person over here together with the second person. So the verb will agree with the person which is nearest to it, that is the first person. Either you or I am mistaken. Now, when we have subjects differing in number and person, what should we do? Now, when the subjects differ in number or person or both, and they are connected by and, then the verb will be in the plural form. Like, first person will take a first person verb, and second person will take the second person form of the verb. Like, my father and I have lived here for 5 years. So, my father and I. So, here we have the verbs, the subjects which are different in person and number. One is in the first person, the other one is not. But they are connected by and. So the verb is in the plural form. We have lived. Okay. Uh, when we have a collective noun, now the collective noun will be singular or plural, depending upon the meaning. Like, for example, if the collective noun is thought of as one unit, then you take a singular form of the verb. Whereas, if the individual members of the group are thought of as separate entities, then it will take the plural form. Like, the mob has dispersed. We don't say the mob have dispersed. Whereas, when I'm talking about the jury members and say that they are split about something or they are arguing about something but haven't come to a decision, I can say that the jury members have been arguing for 5 days. Okay. They haven't arrived at a decision of any sort. So the collective noun, please remember that, will always vary, uh, taking singular or plural depending upon the meaning. If it is thought of as one unit, then it should take the singular form of the verb. If it is thought of as separate entities, it should take the plural form of the verb. Now, what about plural form subjects with a singular meaning? Now, plural form subjects which have a singular meaning, like news, for example, or politics, actually it's plural in form but singular in meaning. So they take a singular verb, like the news is hard to bear, or politics is an interesting subject. Now, with the subject and the subjective complement of different number, the verb always agrees with the subject. Like, for example, my favorite topic is poems by Longfellow. So, poems by Longfellow are my favorite topic. Okay, so if I have the subject as poems over here, then it will agree with the subject, like poems by Longfellow are. Whereas my favorite topic is, okay, so I have the complement over here, but the subject is singular, then the verb will agree with the singular subject. Like my favorite topic is poems by Longfellow. So words which are joined to a singular subject by with, together with, in addition to, do not generally affect the number of the verb. Now, what about subjects which are relative pronouns? Now, when the subject is a relative pronoun, the verb should agree in person and number with the antecedent of the relative. Now, let's look at some examples for this. I, who am your friend, will guard your interests, or he who is my friend will stand by me. Now, the errors in the use of these cases would stem mainly from lack of awareness about the rules, the rules precisely which we have been considering so far, or ignorance about how language works, or basically an inability to understand the meaning. Because in all the different examples that we have been considering, I think it is evident to you that the correspondence between the verb and the subject is being guided mostly by the meaning, not just by the form, but also by the meaning. So you have to understand that language works in this manner. So if you don't understand that, then naturally there will be a lot of mistakes. And sometimes inability to understand the meaning proves very costly. Now, much of the ways of agreement are, as I have said, meaning driven, and an able user of the rules has got them for ready reference and guide. So you have to basically remember the set of rules that I have been talking about with examples. So once you remember those and internalize them, then you are on pretty safe ground, I can say. Now we are going to look at a lot of errors now. Let's consider some errors. Now, as I have said, that subject-verb agreement is a fertile ground of a lot of mistakes. Often we don't understand, or rather, people don't understand that the verb and subject should agree in person or number or both, or in what ways they should be using the exceptions or norms. Now, sometimes there are a lot of different kinds of errors, of course. Sometimes there are errors in the use of the right form with the person, like he go to the hills, and where do you goes, or this go here and that go there. Now, what will be the correct form of the verb? So he go to the hills, he goes to the hills, or it can be she goes to the hills. Where do you go? No, this is quite incorrect. It will be where do you go? And this go here and that go there. Now this and that are singular subjects. And over here, we have to use the singular form. This goes here and that goes there. Okay. We cannot possibly use the plural form over here. This go here and that go there. No, this goes here and that goes there. Now, there are also errors in the use of the right form with plural subjects. Like, for example, the inspectors arrive. The inspectors arrive, or the inspector arrives. The games people play. The games people play, not plays. So people is plural, the subject is plural, so we have to say people play. There is a lot of career openings in healthcare. No, certainly not. Lot of career openings. There are a lot of career openings in healthcare. He add beans and peas to the soup. So two singular subjects where obviously they cannot be at all using the plural form. Okay. He add beans and peas. No, it's he is the singular subject. So he adds beans and peas. So even if we have beans and peas, we cannot use the plural form. That would be incorrect. So he adds beans and peas to the soup, not add. Okay, we are now going to go ahead and look at some more errors. You smokes in the room. Now this is wrong, isn't it? So it will be you smoke in the room. So smokes, who smokes? He smokes, she smokes. Okay, but you obviously smoke. So there is a disagreement between the person and the subject used over here, and the verb used over here. It will be in the second person form of the verb. Now, I And you should be followed by the plural verb. Can you say you has a pen? No, you have to say you have a pen. Okay. Hmm. She sees me every day. This is the correct form. The wrong sentence that we have over here is she see me every day. Okay. Whenever you have a singular subject, with the exception of INU, now it should be followed by a singular verb. So using a singular noun, unlike a singular noun, a singular verb does not attract S. Of course it doesn't. So she see me every day. No, that is incorrect. It will be she sees me every day. But if I'm making a plural subject over there, if I have a plural subject, they see me, then it will be they see me, but not sees. Now, nouns which are joined by quasi-coordinators like accompanied by, as well as, together with, in company of, etc., are followed by a singular verb if the first noun or noun phrase is singular. Like, for example, the president, as well as his wives, is around. This is the correct one. If we say the president, as well as his wives, are around, this would be wrong. So just because we have wives over here, and that doesn't mean that it will take a plural form of the verb. So because the main subject, the president, that is the singular subject. Okay, so we are using as well as the coordinator. Okay, two nouns, president and wives, joined by as well as. So it will be followed by a singular verb. The first noun or noun phrase is singular. The first one obviously is singular over here. What about another example? The vice chancellor, together with the deans, has arrived. This is the correct form. We cannot say the vice chancellor, together with the deans, have arrived. No. The vice chancellor is a singular subject. The dean is a singular subject. Now, two of them are connected by together with, using the connector together with. So, because they are connected like this, so we have to use the singular form. They will not take the plural form of the verb. So the vice chancellor together with the deans have arrived is wrong. Now, what should we do to avoid the errors in subject verb agreement? So by now, I think you have got a fairly clear idea that the subject has to agree with the verb in person as well as in number, and there are certain clear-cut rules about this agreement, and there are certain exceptions also. But we have to keep the examples of these in mind, and gradually we are able to internalize them. Now, remember that when you are making errors in concord or subject verb agreement, then you have to try and spot where the error is first. Okay? Then, when you are making the correction, change the verb and not the subject. Obviously, the subject is something given over there, like Rama and Hari are short. Okay, or Sita is singing. Okay, so I cannot get rid of Rama and Hari, or let's say that I get rid of Hari and just keep Rama, or I will do anything with Sita. No, the subjects are something given, so I cannot alter or change them, but I can alter the verb that is given to me. So if there is something incorrect with the form of the verb that is given, then obviously I will be changing that. Now, at each point, it is best to internalize the rules of concord or subject verb agreement as far as is possible and practicable. So please remember the rules of concord that I have been so far talking about and the exceptions. They are not very many in number, they are fairly small in number. You try to remember them and also the exceptions that have been given, and try and practice them with the help of examples. So once you have internalized the rules and exceptions and you are able to practice and get it correct, then you are on a fairly safe ground. See what is the correct form and then replace the wrong one with the correct one. So as far as exercises in this topic are concerned, you can get error spotting or find out where it has been used incorrectly. Or you can get filling in the blanks or gap fill exercises. Fill in with the correct form of the verb. The verb is wrongly used in the sentence. Or they can be choose the correct option. Okay. So basically these are all information gap kind of questions. So in error spotting, of course, you can spot the error if that is the question, but you may also be asked to rewrite the sentence using the correct form of the verb. So please internalize the rules of subject-verb agreement as far as is possible and practical, and then attempt to match the subject with the corresponding verbs in person, in number, or both, and as the exceptions are, accordingly also, you should keep them in mind and practice writing them. So these are some of the basic points regarding subject-verb agreement, and I hope that I have tried to elucidate as far as possible this topic in grammar, which is an extremely basic one. And this subject-verb agreement is important in speaking, and it is also equally important in writing. So don't think that it's only in writing that you make these errors. People also tend to make a lot of errors in subject-verb agreement while speaking. So these kinds of errors have to be dealt with. So we have to deal with them because they are going to reduce from our communicative competence if they tend to occur too often, and we have to try and correct these errors and make our communication foolproof and accurate as far as is possible. So grammatical competence is one road to communicative competence and being an assured communicator in English. So I hope that you will remember these points regarding subject-verb agreement on concord and will use them well in your speech and writing. So this brings us to the end of this particular lecture. So with that, I would like to sign off for now. We will be meeting again later. So till then, bye.